Some things that the defensive firearms training community has great love for that I've never seen in a CCW gunfight. Here's where I get in trouble.
Mountain Man Medical has name brand proven trauma medical supplies with a price match guarantee to ensure you get the right gear at the right price. Check them out at get-asp.com/mountainman.
I have never seen a defensive knife used to get to a gun or in any capacity by somebody carrying a gun in a private citizen defensive gunfight. Now, people ask all the time, well, John, how do you carry your defensive knife? I'm going to tell you, I don't carry a defensive knife. Why not? Because I carry a firearm as a lethal tool. Well, what if you get in an entangled fight? For private citizens, those are fairly rare in terms of deadly force. For cops, they happen all the time because of the mission difference, because you're trying to take somebody into custody. Pretty rare for a private citizen. When they do happen, they're very, very bad. I've just never seen somebody in that scenario end up going to the knife instead of going to the gun. Just don't see it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't. Did you hear me tell you you can't carry a defensive knife as a CCW holder? If you did, you heard me wrong. I don't care. Carry 5 of them. As long as I don't even care if it's legal. You do you. If it's illegal, you deal with it, okay? What I mean is that I just don't see them used by somebody who's carrying a gun. So treat that for what it's worth. I've never seen a gunfight that required one-handed manipulation of the pistol controls other than the trigger. Sir?
Manual safety.
So a manual safety should be removable by a single hand, because if I got something else in this hand, and I have seen that, I've seen people holding a baby in their support hand, have to draw the gun, so that safety has to be able to be taken off if you were carrying a gun with a safety by the dominant hand only. If you can't do that, you're carrying the wrong gun.
You're talking about that off-duty in Brazil in the supermarket? He's got baby in one hand, gun in the other.
I wasn't talking about him in particular, but that was one instance of those things. So again, you should be able to manipulate a safety, but I've never seen somebody have to do anything of that kind. I generally don't recommend manual safeties on carry guns. Generally. If your gun has one, and it doesn't also have a decocker, you should use the safety. A single action only pistol should not be carried without safety on, full stop, right? Great way to have negligent discharge. But in a modern context where we have traditional double actions that can be decocked or striker fired guns, safeties, manual safeties are less useful than they used to be. Okay? So in terms of one-handed manipulations, you've seen this idea of, okay, wait a minute, if your gun hand, if your support hand is injured and you have a malfunction with your strong hand, then you need to be able to do like a kick flip malfunction clearance or, you know, tap and all that stuff. I've never seen somebody actually do that in a private citizen gunfight. I have seen cops shot in their support hand. You know, last cop I saw shot in a support hand was out of San Antonio here, and you know what he did? Just kept using that hand. Just kept fighting with it. He was literally shot right through these 2 fingers and needed a tourniquet on, but he was in the middle of a gunfight, and his hand was gnarly when you look at it afterwards. Gnarly. But he didn't really know, so he just kept on the gun, bang, 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 finished his gunfight, and then went, oh, crap. And you watch that when he went like this, and you go, oh, jeez. Made it, okay?
Probably still in shock and didn't feel it yet, but...
Well, it didn't affect his ability to use a hand, is where it really was. I've never seen a transition in a CCW gunfight from strong hand to support hand and subsequent use of the gun. So I've never seen somebody using the pistol, they're using it one-handed for whatever reason, or even two-handed, and then lose the use of their strong hand, go to the support hand, and continue to use the gun support hand only. I've never seen that happen in a CCW gunfight. I have seen it one time in an on-duty law enforcement capacity. I have seen it once in on-duty law enforcement capacity. And I will be honest with you, when I saw it, I literally cheered. I was like, there it was, I finally saw one! And she won her fight too. So there was that. Sir?
I'm struggling with the concept here, so forgive me if I'm not completely clear. I understand that we're talking about the 20% if it's the 80-20.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, we're talking about the 20%, but I'm struggling with the idea of why, just because law enforcement's usual mission is different, it isn't valid.
No.
To say, well, here are these cases where law enforcement officers have had to do this, and a civilian might also.
Well, except for, again, I've seen exactly one time in 40,000 instances where somebody's transitioned to a support hand only.
Some others, maybe I'll tell you about them later, but...
So at the very least, we can say it's radically rare.
Yes.
Radically rare. So I think, now again, you don't hear me say, don't train support hand shooting. Support hand shooting can be valuable because it can teach me my stupid hand, especially as an instructor. When you go support hand on stuff, it can remind you what it's like to be a beginning student. I took Gunsight's 250 pistol, which is kind of a beginning level pistol, and I took the whole thing wrong-sided. Bought a wrong side holster, took the whole thing support side. Didn't tell anybody I was doing it other than my partner that went with me to class. Why? I just wanted to be a beginner again and go from a place that I didn't know that stuff. But in terms of, hey, we've got to get the gun out, shoot with this hand, transition quickly to this hand, shoot this side quickly, and those things, that's a skill for when you are so far down the line and so good with your dominant hand on the pistol that you're bored to tears.
Yeah, so, I don't want my comment to sound like sharpshooting because I hate sharpshooters, right? But so I think that's what you just said is critical to understanding, right? So the perspective of if I'm an instructor, who am I instructing? Mm-hmm. What am I instructing for? And where are they in their skill set matters. I would suggest what we're looking at statistically is where a gun was fired and on video. So those are some limiters.
They are, but at some point we get around, when you've got 40,000 examples to pull from that you're not cherry picking from, you start gaining representation. I'm not saying that plural of anecdote is evidence, but I am saying we're starting to get to a place, if I start seeing, I would expect to see them a little bit more. And I'm not saying we should never do it. I'm saying make sure the other stuff is so strong first. And again, if I've got guys that, or a bunch of students that are A-class USPSA shooters,
right, so who I'm teaching, what I'm teaching them for, right, and those things matter. But I would also say clearing, individual clearing. If I'm solo clearing, I'm a homeowner. I have children, I have a split bedroom home, so all these things matter. So they may be
so
switch hands based on what they're trying to do to keep angles.
Not with a pistol in your hand, you don't. Not with a pistol in your hand. Okay, now my argument is this. If you're clearing a house while you are single man, I think you're wrong. Because now again, if somebody breaks in my house and I got kids on the other side of the house, am I pieing any corners? No, I'm not. I'm running to my children. I'm running hard to my children. Dealing with whatever is in there, grab them up and get into a safe place. And we can talk individual tactics and techniques. I'm saying that, again, we don't see those kinds of things used often. I'm not saying don't ever train them. I'm saying make sure the other stuff is so good first. So good first that you're ridiculously bored, okay? I've never, 2 times have I ever seen a gun dropped and then recovered and used in a gunfight. Pretty much, if you drop a gun in a gunfight, it has gone to Narnia. Pretty much. Just the reality of things. And only ever one time have I seen somebody drop their own gun and then come back later in the gunfight, get that gun and use it. I've seen it one time. But again, very rare. I've never seen a CCW use a firearm muzzle strike. I've just never seen it happen. Yeah, somebody bonking somebody in the face with the muzzle. What's that? Now, again, as a cop, but if I punch somebody in the muzzle with the muzzle in the face, is that ordinary force or deadly force? Deadly. That's deadly force. I'm probably going to put him in the hospital, bonking him in the face with a muzzle. Maybe lose an eye. Yeah, absolutely. Highly likely to cause that. As a private citizen, if I'm justified in the use of deadly force, I probably want to just press the trigger. As a cop, I see plenty of opportunities to go, hey, I got buddies around me, whatever. I punched that guy right in the face with the muzzle when I could have shot him and gave him one last chance to not, and I cut a little hole right out of the middle of his forehead. And he decided he'd had enough because his eyes rolled in the back of his head or whatever. We got him into cuffs, and it's the greatest story you tell around the water cooler, and that's cool, okay? I've never seen a backup gun used in any CCW capacity whatsoever. I've seen it one time on video for cops, and I've heard of about 6 or 8 other instances that I've personally heard of cops. I think there's some mission differences there that make that possibility. I'm not telling you not to teach folks from various carry positions. If you say, hey, you sit at a desk all day and you carry a gun on your ankle, you carry a small revolver on your ankle and that's your carry gun, we need to practice from that position. Sir?
I could wait till the end. But if you have a backup gun, now you have 2. So you're videos show the CCW going for a gun. He has a choice because he's got one maybe in an ankle holster and he's seated, and the other one's on in the small of his back or appendix or something. It's harder to get to.
I can't ever think of somebody drawing in a CCW gunfight from an ankle holster ever. I've never seen it.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm saying I've never seen it.
You have a choice of which gun to start the fight with, and because
Yeah, I think most people that carry a gun,
carry them both the same way, I presume.
well, I would presume probably your primary gun is the one you carry in the position you're most likely to be able to get it from quickly.
Yeah.
You know, either.
Most conditions, but let's say, okay, you're not standing or you're not whatever.
I think you're splitting the pie pretty small.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. This is the one that makes people frustrated.
I've been buying a backup gun for years, and
Yeah.
this is going to tell me not to buy one.
I stopped carrying a backup gun a number of years ago.
Okay.
Although he did not tell you not to buy one.
I did not tell you. Right. Buy as many as you want. Carry 4 guns. I don't care. I will tell you this. So the owner, the founder of the Wilderness is a friend of mine. His name's Ralph Holzhaus. If anybody knows Wilderness Tactical, Ralph is a hell of a guy. He's been involved in the firearms world for longer than I've been alive. I was on the mountain rescue team. I wear his ankle medical kit on my ankle all the time. And every time I go in there, he goes, "Where are you carrying your backup gun, John?" And I go, "Ralph, I'm not carrying a backup gun." "Why not? You got an ankle sitting there doing nothing." "I'm not carrying a backup gun, Ralph."
So that statement there means that nobody who did have a backup gun never ever went for the backup gun. They started with their primary gun.
I can't parse information down that quickly for you. I've never seen somebody get a second gun in a gunfight on camera.
Second gun, not necessarily. Okay.
I've never seen somebody get a second gun in the gunfight. I've also never seen a CCW holder actually employ rounds from a reload in a gunfight. I've never seen it happen, ever. Because what happens, private citizen gunfights break fast, right? They generally break around 5 seconds or less. And so you're running 5 seconds or less, and then they break. And if there's any lull in the shooting, usually everyone scampers off into their corners and doesn't want to fight no more. Because bad guys getting shot at, they find other stuff to do.
And that's what when you
Now, again, I've seen a couple reloads. I think the fastest actual reload I've ever seen get in a gun in a real gunfight's like 12 seconds. Like, gun goes empty. Now, that's non-cops, right? So cops carrying them on their vest, whatever. I've seen, quite a few of those. I see a lot of cops bobble reloads in real gunfights, too. Anybody seen the one here out of Houston not too long ago? The guy dropped 2 magazines in the middle of his gunfight. Ay, Dios mío.
That dude immediately knew what to do in that gunfight because he broke off his car, got cover, immediately started.
I've actually got some contact from him this weekend, and so he's like, "Hey man, that's me. I got some inside baseball for you. Can we talk later?" Yeah, I'd love to talk. Again, am I telling you not to carry a reload? I'm not telling you not to carry a reload. Carry 5 of them. I don't care. I'm just saying now in my classes, I just don't spend a ton of time on reloads. Emergency reloads. I know a lot of people on that video. If you go watch that video, posted it last week on Extra. The people were like, "But John, I don't carry it for more rounds. I carry it to clear malfunctions." I've never seen somebody clear a malfunction by changing a magazine in a private citizen gunfight. I've just never seen it. I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm saying it's exceptionally rare. I have seen some malfunctions in guns. 99% of the time, people don't even tap the base plate. They just run the action real hard to get the gun back in the fight and get working. That's what we see again and again and again. We just had a recent one, though, out of Brazil. Dude drove his gun out, pop, pop, pop. On his 3rd shot, the magazine dropped out about halfway. Click, ran the action, click, and then he ran off. And if he had slammed that magazine home, if he had caught it and slammed it home real hard, he'd have had a gun back in the fight and probably shot that. Dude, he'd already shot that guy enough times that guy laid down and briefly regretted his life choices before going and meeting his maker. Please. So, I'm not saying that particular technique. I'm saying I don't care how many reloads you carry, just understand that you're probably never going to use it in an actual private citizen gunfight. On-duty cop gunfights, because they pursue, because they have to stay in the fight and stay with somebody, they're going to use reloads. They're going to go through reloads a lot more. You know where I see cops do it all the time? I tell cops this all the time. Number 1 cause of reloading for cops is? Missing. And I do see cops, especially if they're showing up to active killers, they're showing up to somebody who's killing people, their first magazine is panic firing, is emotional firing. They come in hard and bang, 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 and then the gun goes empty and they go, "Oh no." They reload the gun, and as they're reloading the gun, they think, "I am not getting the job done here, And it's when they drive that gun out a second time that they start really gripping, seeing the sights, and pressing the trigger. Okay? See that an awful lot. So, a couple little bits here. What should we be teaching? There's nothing wrong with fun in classes. Okay? I teach reloads. I teach reloads in class. Hey, guess what? When we're in class, you're going to reload the gun a bunch. Should I teach you how to do it efficiently? Of course I should. I mean, there's no reason to do it wrong. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it. Put the beans in the blaster, drop your slide, and go to work. Okay, here's how we do that. And should gun school be fun? Students come back to you because they're having a good time. Plain and simple, okay? Make sure your students are well versed in the 20% of skills that bring 80% of the results before you work on specialty curriculum. And again, when you know the students that you're teaching and the skill set that they already possess, say, hey, they've already made selection past this certain thing. Cool, you all know how to do this. So now we're going to work on the next thing, right? And just make sure you're working through that stuff. And assess. Assess your students' capabilities all the time. Valid assessment, super, super, super interesting. And I'll give you, this is just kind of a one remain here. I just want you to see, this is a very typical gunfight. This guy's pulling up. He's going to stop here because he's going to see this lady limping across the road. He gets out and says, hey, lady, you're coming with me. She goes, nah, man. Pulls her gun. Nope, bang. And he lays down and shuffles off this mortal coil.
She's going for her phone.
Yeah, she's looking for her cell phone is what she's doing. Now, I just shared this one as a very typical private citizen gunfight. Now, private citizen, this is actually out of Brazil. She's an off-duty cop. Only people allowed to carry guns in Brazil are cops, pretty much. Yeah, really bad victim selection, right? But she's functioning as a private citizen here. And the actual problem to solve, again, I want her to have that problem. Her big challenge here, what was her biggest hurdle in this gunfight? You saw her hitch up getting that gun in the fight several times, right? Took her a lot longer than she wanted to. So before we work on all the other skills, I want her to be able to get that gun out very quickly, reliably, accurately, because I'd rather have the gun in her hand at .95. So then that way she has all the time she wants and needs to assess the need of the gun, get the hit that she needs, refine her sights and her trigger in order to get better hits, rather than having to keep backing up because she's still struggling to get the gun in the fight. Okay? Guys, I've used up your full hour of time and a little bit more. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate all of you, and I'm happy to stick around, answer questions, debate, and discuss. My biggest thing I want you to take away from this, Pareto principle, 20-80 skills, whatever it is that you're teaching, teach that 20% of skills that'll give them 80% first. And once they're really good at that, then start adding all the other stuff that adds up to the tactical fantasy band camp and fun. Okay? Thanks for coming, everybody.